What's good, boys? Zg Shaggy here, back with another video. In today's video we're going to be talking about if jailbreaking your PS3 slash running HEN firmware on your PS3 is worth it in 2020. So without further ado, let's just jump right into it. Okay, so jailbreaking originally started for the PS3 back in late 2009, early 2010 I believe. And ever since then it's been around. It's gotten pretty popular. It reached its height of popularity in my opinion back in 2015, 2016. That's when you ran into copious amounts of modders. And don't get me wrong, back in the day you ran into a lot of modders. Like 2011 back in Modern Warfare 2 and Black Ops 1, there were tons and tons of modders. But modding back then isn't what it is today. So like I said before, let's just jump right into it. So, running custom firmware on your PS3, there's positives and negatives to it. And by custom firmware, I mean you could be running Rebug, Kex, Dex, or you could be running HEN, which is Homebrew Enabler. Now, there are positives and negatives to it, like I already said. One positive, I would say, whether you're running custom firmware or HEN, and now most of these apply to both of them, but a positive to it is you're able to play backup games. So if you have a disc copy of, like, let's say Black Ops 2 for example, right? And you want to play it on your game without having to worry about, is the disc going to break on me anytime soon? Am I going to scratch it while putting it away or taking it out or whatnot? You can install the game straight from your disc right onto your PS3. It's really simple. You can do it with Multiman, you can do it with other apps. I use Multiman, but it's super simple to do. Now, when it comes to that, a lot of people take that as, oh, I could pirate video games offline. In which, yeah, you definitely can do. You could download games offline. I don't recommend it in the slightest bit. You can get in some serious trouble with your internet provider. You can get strikes on your internet and stuff like that. So I don't recommend it. Personally, any game that I download on my PS3, I have the disc copy of it. But that's not here nor there. Now, a really big con when it comes to modding, or not to modding, but like running custom firmware or HEN, is the simple fact that you can get banned because you're not running official Sony firmware. While you are still running PS3 firmware, you're running custom firmware, and custom firmware, just like HEN, allows you to do things that you weren't really meant to do. Now, when I say that, yes, there are dev kits which were meant to, like, essentially modify the game so you could adjust certain things in the game. And that's basically what Dex and Kex are. You can mod things in the game just like HEN. Now the major downside to it is if you're running custom firmware or HEN, you can get console ban. And by console ban, that means your PS3 cannot go online. You cannot play video games online. And some people thinking, like, if you're new, you're like, oh man, I'm banned on PS3. There's not much, you can't do anything. I have to get a new PS3. Now, a positive to that is you can get another, what's known as a PSID or a CID console ID. You could buy those offline. I personally buy mine off eBay. You can get them for like $8 off there. Now, a negative to it is a lot of people, unless you know the actual seller themselves or you know someone that sells them, is a lot of them are shared console IDs. So what that means is that same person is selling that same console ID 3, 4, 5 times over. Personally, I've had it happen to me once or twice where I'll buy a console ID and within a week I'm banned already and I know I haven't done anything wrong or I haven't even been playing and I've been banned. I've actually caught one dude in particular, I'm not going to name who, but I caught one dude selling a console ID before. He sold me one, and then a week later he sold one of my buddies the same exact console ID, and we ended up getting a free console ID out of it. But like I said, that's not really important. So if you get banned, you could always buy a console ID. You just got to be very cautious and wary as to who you're buying it from and where. Like they're relatively cheap. Like the most I've ever paid for one is $10. And right here, I'm just going to say the more you pay for it, in my opinion, the less likelihood that it's going to be a shared console ID. Now, a really big positive, here's another positive to owning a custom firmware slash HEN PS3, is you could play emulators. So you could play like NES emulators, you could play Nintendo 64 emulators, I assume, and you could run Game Boy, Sega, all that stuff. It's really cool the fact that you could run emulators on your PS3. You could play all these old school games, some games you grew up playing when you were a child, other games you never got the chance to play, and you don't want to go out and buy, a Nintendo 64 or an NES and stuff like that. You can just download an emulator and you can play them on your PS3. And most of them support PS3 have PS3 controller support, which I assume they all do, but I'm not 100% with that. Now, a downside to it is when you're running custom firmware or HEN. I don't know if this is like a for certain thing because you're running custom firmware or HEN, but what I've noticed is that when you're running custom firmware or HEN, your PS3 does tend to run a little bit like warmer than normal. Now, that's just my opinion. There's no way I could really prove it other than I have multiple PS3s. I have a PS3 running custom firmware, a PS3 running HEN, and a PS3 that's not jailbroken at all. It's not modded. And I have noticed that they run a little bit warmer. And I replace a thermal paste on my consoles every couple years just so it doesn't get crusty and it always stays fresh and nice and cool and stuff like that. Um, a positive to it though, and this is like a really cool one if you're into tech and software, you could run Ubuntu or Linux on your PS3. Now, if you guys don't know what Ubuntu or Linux is, it's another OS, kind of like Windows, in a sense, where you could essentially like you could turn your PS3 into a computer in a way where you could browse the web, and you can already do that on PS3. I've personally never messed around with Linux on a PS3 or Linux in general, but I've seen some videos. I've seen some really cool stuff you could do with that. Um, Other than that, like I can't really think of any other cons besides. One other con is you can't download stuff from the store like you normally would on a retail PS3. You'll be able to download it, but it just won't work. Now that's from my experience. I don't know if there's any specific way around it, but as the base version, you can't do that. I know there is one way if you're on HEN. This might work with HEN, where you could download stuff from the store. I'm not 100% sure. But I do know, like, for example, if you download a game on your PS3 before you install HEN, that game will work. But the downside to it is you can't really mod games that you've downloaded from the PlayStation Store. Now, I'm pretty sure that there are certain games that have specifically made menus for the store-bought or the PSN store-bought version of a game. Pretty sure there is out there. I just don't know. Now, the conclusion that I want to get to is it worth jailbreaking your PS3 in 2020? In my personal opinion, yes. If you have a PS3 laying around, you don't play it as much, and you want to mod a game for fun, not be an asshole. You want to mod a game for fun, awesome. But if you're gonna be one of those people that just likes to ruin everyone's day, don't even bother with it because it's not cool. So, is it worth it? Yes. If you have one laying around, do it. I don't suggest going out and buying one just to jailbreak it, but if you got one laying around, do it. And if you're one of those people that they're very unsure about jailbreaking or running HEN custom firmware, my opinion is just install HEN. If you like it, keep it. If not, you can always get rid of it. I have a video on my channel that I'll leave linked in the description down below, so you guys can check it out and decide for yourself if you want one. But other than that, guys, I really hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope I was able to, clear some stuff up for you just to see if you guys want to do this or not. But anyways, I'm going to wrap this video up, and I hope you guys enjoyed, so please like, comment, subscribe, and I'll talk to you guys later. Peace out.